Excellent. Barb, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Forrester, are there any additions to the agenda?
There are none. Thank you, Mayor.
We can move on to the consent agenda if everybody's had a chance to look at it. I'm open to a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as provided.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I need to abstain. I wasn't here last time.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to visitors' appearances and requests. Would anybody in the audience like to speak to us? It's not scheduled. Is there anybody on Zoom? Okay. So just so you know, if you are on Zoom and you want to speak at one of the 2 points in the meeting, raise your hand in the Zoom. And then we can then we know that you want to speak to us and we can get you in here. All right, so we'll move on to the presentation to council, Mr. Wayne Looney.
And we have.
Good evening. I am Wayne Looney, and I think it was about a decade ago that I was standing right here for almost the same reason. And it's really reassuring to see that some of the same people are in place. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that this group of people has been very effective in guiding our community. So, as I said, I'm here for basically the same reason. And as I was here before, I was talking, as I said, near a decade ago, I was asking for support from the city for a splash pad project. And fortunately, the city came to my rescue repeatedly in that way too long a project. But because of the leadership, it took a little bit longer. And the model that we used is one that is time consuming, but it also has a lot of positive factors to it, in my opinion. And what it does do is brings the community into the whole project so they feel like they have a hand in it. They indeed do have a hand in it. And it also, we were able to drive the costs down considerably because of in-kind donations and funds that we were able to raise outside of our own community and within the community. And so we had had that project bid out by a commercial construction and found it eye-watering. And that's when we went to this other model and had some considerable help that allowed us to go forward. And always when I needed help as I stumbled forward, the city was there to help me. That was pretty reassuring and very useful. And Scott knows a lot about that. There were some holes we dug over there that I didn't know what was going to happen, but there were people in charge that had experience. So today and this evening, John Bond is here with me. Fortunately for us in this project that John is going to talk about, he has vast experience in construction. I had none, or very little. And so we have a person who has led the project at Stryker Field here since the splash park. He did what we call phase 2, which is the kiddie park, the all-inclusive, the tuned instruments. That was all done under his direction and using the same model that we used before with community involvement and in-kind involvement. And it's been very useful in controlling costs and getting a quality project done that is highly used by the community. I think it's only its biggest problem, as Steve Forrester pointed out to me, is that people use up his parking place, but I told him tough. He just needs to get a smaller vehicle and it'll be easier for him. So in any case, we are here to talk about phase 3. Phase 3 is the final piece of the Stryker Park project. And there are plenty of pictures of it around here that John Bond has been very diligent in producing, and he will talk about where we are with that project as far as funding is concerned, and as far as going out and getting help and what it will look like when it's done. I think we have continued to use the same model that we used with the splash park because it's worked. And we think it has the power that I've already mentioned to you in its use. It's frustrating at different times, but it's worth the time, in my opinion, to do it in that fashion, especially if you have willing and capable partners. And we've always been able to have that in this community. And so I think that is something we want to continue to do. I can tell I'm representing Prineville Kiwanians, as John Bond is also. Over the last, since the splash park, which was a major infusion of our funds, put that aside, since then we have well over $200,000 of monies that we've raised, invested in Stryker Park. It's always been our priority since we had the vision and the aspiration to finish it and to provide a recreational experience. I drive by that place occasionally, often more times than I should, just to see the kids enjoy it. And most of those kids have parents with them. They are people of all walks of life, and they are mixing with each other. That is so healthy. And it is so, I think, important for any community, and especially this one. We still have that. We have to always fight to maintain it. And so for us, as I said, we've always had that for the last 10 years now, almost a decade, as a priority in our group. It is in our lane. That's what we want to do. And we would hope to finish it. Quite frankly, 10 years is long enough on any project. We'd like to put this one in the rearview mirror and move on. This is our chance to do it. John will talk about where we are, as I said, with funding and completion, and he'll do that a little later. But it's our pleasure to be here and to work with you. It's always been that way for me, I know. So thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm John Bond, and I am a Kiwanian, and I'm also on the board of the Foundation for Parks and Rec for the last 8 years. So we really have a vested interest in this. And so I'm just going to get down here and show you what we've got planned here, if I can. Okay, that's just our overview. You guys pretty much seen this. So right here, and I got a little pointer here, this exclusive area is right here, and we're gonna put this guy right in here, the last part of the project. We've got, let me see, so that's the instruments. You guys know pretty much all about that. Those are the trade structures that Kiwanis put in. And the Judapie is right behind it. And then we've got the inclusive area that went in last year. And these guys came down. I mean, just the poles to put the shades on went down 10 feet in the ground. Over 66 yards of concrete got donated. And that was Ken Skelly and Steve Schott. I don't know if you know that, but he was so instrumental in all this. And yeah, they came down, about 20 guys, and were there for 3 or 4 days. I'm a contractor. I just was wow. Okay, so this is the new park. The if I can point this out here. This right here is the inclusive area running down here. The creek's right back through here. The gazebo is right in here, and splash pad's over here. So you kind of know where this is. 4th Street's right in here. So this right here is going to be a ramp going up, and we're going up a ways. We're going up 5 or 6 feet. And so that'll be ADA compatible up to the little part right here where there's bridges. So there's a turnaround that goes through there. And then we've got all these panels that are interactive panels. And so stuff is expensive. That train for the 2 to 5 was 90 grand. So you can kind of get an idea of how much money these parts cost. So with that, with this deal, that it's about a $700,000 part, and we get 6 picnic tables and 6 benches, which is really nice because there's no benches and tables over there. And so we will place them and put them in concrete. So decide where we want to put those. This is zip line right here that's going across here. It is one's a ADA, one's a regular. They can only be 100 feet because I want it to go all the way to the river, right? Because I want it to go all the way to the river. But it can only be 75 feet long because of the ADA qualification. So it will be running this way. It'll be a poured in place rubber. And that's donated from the guy who's doing the $4,000 worth of rubber, which is really great. That's the layout of it right there. And again, Forest Street is up on top. And so we're coming up, and then we will have a sidewalk coming from the inclusive area to the opening of this. And there's a couple of trees that were taken down that have been there for about 80 years, but we got 6 new trees to put in. And this slide here is not here, it's over here because we got water down here. Everybody kind of knows that. So we're way far away from that. So that zip line will go right in over here. And then we've got shade structures, like these little guys here, like right there and there. And then, so you can kind of see the little shade structures here. And we got little tree toppers on the poles. It's really cute. It should be really cute. That's the elevation side of it, going looking up it. And that is, now this is interesting. So this is about what it's going to cost. It's $670,000. And we have grants coming in from, well, we got a grant from Apple. We should be hearing back from Meta in the next 2 to 3 weeks on the 50,000. We asked for 75. They said they'd probably get us to 50. Buell Recreation got a grant to match what we paid for. So that's $176, so almost half off what the original bid was, which is great. And then Kiwanis has pledged 130,000. Michael Mohan's our guy, and he threw in 250. The city of Prineville, we have 10,000 from you guys pledged, and we're hoping to get more. Ochiko Lumber gave to Ruthie. I do now for $12,000, but it's a community pool that money was sitting around, so we threw it in for Stryker Park. The in-kind donation, so that up there is $220,000 in the money raised. The in-kind donations, we've got the guy that's donating the installation of the zip line, the poured in place rubber, and the curb at 150 grand. Knife River's going to donate $3,000 worth of concrete. That should pay for the curb to go around the zip line. Rosenden's going to put a couple of lights in for us and some power running all the way from the splash pad over to the end of the park. So that'll be nice. It'll be lit for both areas. I'd love to see some cameras going there, and it's hard to get cameras in the park. We've been trying to get some over in the bathroom for a long time. Smith Construction is going to come and do all the digging out. That's $24,000. And then we've got Vern Cedar Mill, which is over in Jackson County, and he has got cedar logs that are about 16 inches around. So he's milling off the tops and the bottom. So we'll use those for an edge, and then we'll fill that up 12 inches full of bark. And that's about that. So that's the in-kind donations. We're hitting $205,000, give or take just a little bit. And so we need $219,000. We need $359,664. We've got 141. We need $200,000 more. We haven't gone to the chamber yet, so they're usually good. They really helped with the 2 to 5. They gave us 25 for that. Meta, we're still waiting on. So that's kind of that. So we're not asking for much, just a couple of $100,000 would be great. And that's all I got, guys. I don't know how you turn this off. Okay.
I don't think
thank
there's
you.
an ask tonight though, right? It's
No.
just
No.
saying what you need for the future. Okay, gives us an idea of what we're looking at to help
So
with that project.
So Mayor, what I shared with John and Wayne is, some of the priorities and the financial policies that the council's agreed to do as we start to realize some of the incremental growth in our revenue, from the result of franchise fees and the data center tax roll-ons that, we have a category, for these type of amenities that you guys can make a decision on how you want to allocate when that time comes. So what I explained to Wayne and John is, we may have an opportunity later on this year after we close the first year of this 2-year cycle to see if we're able to populate those funding mechanisms that you all agreed to do and approved to do. And at that point, once we reach that point, if there are funding availability within that construct, then the council will be able to consider how and if they want to allocate any funds to whatever projects. Obviously, this one is one that you might want to be interested in. So that's where we're at. I asked these guys to give us a quick update on where they're at and how much progress they've made, which is substantial, and just to prepare you for what might be coming down the road.
And one last statement, we have not given up on raising funds ourselves through Quantas. We have at least 2 more grants and probably more than that in process. And this is a good project. We're in the right lane with the people we're applying to, so we feel good about that. So we think that the number that the $200,000 number, which is a legitimate number, but we think we're working to reduce that, and we think we will know the outcome of some of those grant applications pretty much in line with perhaps how your fiscal year is working. So we can come to a real understanding about what we need to finish that project.
Wayne,
Yes.
I got a couple of questions if I can. Through this whole process, how does the foundation work with the Parks and Rec? How involved are you with everybody in that?
We have worked with Parks and Rec over the years on a lot of different projects and been pretty successful. To be perfectly honest, we have not worked as successfully with Parks and Rec over the last few years as we have in the past. And we've worked very well with the Parks and Rec Foundation. And that pretty much our collaboration with Parks and Rec has primarily gone through the foundation with this project. It's a priority decision of theirs. I have nothing to do with that. Personally disagree with it, but that doesn't make any difference, and so really it's been us and the foundation. Yeah. Go ahead.
The foundation put in the capital. Not Parks and Rec, the foundation did that. So the foundation is doing the replacement, more or less, because the Castle Park is like 40 years old, I think. Anyway, the way it works, the Parks and Rec district cannot fundraise.
Hey,
So that's
Ruthie,
what
Ruthie,
the-
could you come on up?
Yeah.
Yeah, please. I know, but.
But the mics can pick you up.
Yeah, the mic, yeah. We want the people that are coming in.
So the Parks and Rec board, they cannot fundraise. So the foundation was established, and the foundation doesn't only just raise funds. They work as a kind of like the Crook County Foundation. So if you have a baseball team and you want your money, but you don't want to have to do a 501(c) or whatever, then their money can sit in our thing and they can draw it out. So that's what the foundation does. But no, this was always a foundation project.
Okay, and I was just curious how it all worked together.
Yeah.
Because And also it sounds like the thought is that the other park up off of Juniper Street will probably disappear at some time.
They
This is-
are just
Wait.
maintaining it. They're not gonna try to improve it, you know, because of its age.
Yeah.
And its proximity to the skate park. There was always a conflict between the little kids and the big kids with bad mouths, so the parents didn't like it. Anyway.
I won't touch that. Thank you.
So Wayne, you guys are still looking for other in-kind services too, for other companies to contribute?
Always. We're always looking at that and actually, Kiwanis Foundation, is a 501(c), and we function a lot just exactly like what, Ruthie was talking about. And, most of our sponsors want to operate through there for the obvious reasons. And that's why it was established, I think, after the flood that flooded the area where the park is. And so, yeah. That's how we've used that foundation. It's been very useful. Yes.
I have a question that's not related to money.
Yeah.
Does it have any effect on the space that's been used for soccer and other activities on it?
No, that was made clear right off the bat that the soccer field, I think for me, it's easiest to kind of get a picture of the space we're using. There's some large boulders that intersect the park, and the soccer field is down there, on the, I would call it roughly the east side of those boulders. We're going to be on the other side. The soccer field is sacred, so to speak, and then that's the way it should be probably. That's a nice open space that's for that purpose, and they're needed, for heaven's sakes. Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
All right, no council presentations, council business. I think you want to go on the staff talk later.
Probably the
All right. So, staff reports and requests, city manager's report, Mr. Forrester.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, would you like to go before the city manager's report, or you want me to go ahead?
I'll just,
Follow up?
I'll do my stuff in the council reports.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So from the public safety side, we have Officer Moore. It's a recent hire. He's a lateral. He is finishing up department training and doing really well, and will be out on patrol very soon. So that continues to strengthen our team. I think we're pretty close to being full, Shane. So full roster at boots on the ground for the PD. Interim Chief Shane Wilson is working on the annual report for the council. So I want you guys to be looking forward to getting some good statistics from Shane on what's been happening and how the community is doing, and statistically as it relates to public safety. On the public works side, continuing work on the ASR Well 2 well house. We're just awaiting the final building permit, and then we'll get to construction right away. We're also still waiting for winter weather to hit us. We're ready to go, but we haven't had to deploy our snow equipment at this point. On the railroad side, this is a big week for Matt and his team. We got the FRA and ODOT inspections this week. We also have some, our McCall Oil people will be here this week to look at some of the expansion opportunities that I've shared with you previously. So that's moving along positively. Meadow Lakes Golf Course, Zach's reporting, we had a little cold snap and it slowed play a bit, but we still have the afternoons open when it warms up, and so still busy out there. We had the opportunity to meet with Kelly Kaufelt from the airport. The foggy weather last couple of weeks have really slowed aviation activity. And they also are working on some more grant applications, gear up for some projects this summer. So if you recall, we finished up the crosswind runway. The old runway has now been completely refurbished, and we've changed some things on the big runway, runway 31. But we're going to do some improvements on it. Will be the next round of grant funding that will be improving the big runway up there. From planning, we have Josh is reporting we've got a couple of subdivision applications in the works. A little bit of uncertainty in the market, as we all know, so developers are a little bit on hold at the moment because once they're subdivided, obviously they, changes their cost structure as it relates to taxes on individual lots. So they want to be timing that with a good amount of certainty that those will be able to move. So a little bit of a pause, but certainly the applications continue to roll in. On the IT side, we're gearing up for Axon equipment upgrades for the public safety, starting with the sheriff's office first, and then PD will be sometime in mid-February. And this is an upgrade to our camera systems. From finance, Lori's preparing the quarterly finance report, and we will get that presented to council at either the first or second meeting in February. From the city recorder and risk management, Lisa Morgan, safety and wellness is looking into some wellness challenges for our staff to compete in this year to keep our members motivated, moving, and healthy. And then moving on to council announcements. For the council this evening, a reminder that the League of Oregon Cities Spring Conference is coming up, and it will be in Pendleton this year on April 23rd and 24th. There's some good opportunities, as always, to take some classes. And then we're also exploring some offerings that the league has presented regarding training opportunities for both the council and the staff. And we'll be bringing some of those opportunities, kind of a suite of different areas of concentration for training opportunities to the council. And you guys can kind of decide if there's anything there you're interested in, and then we'll be happy to set that up for training. Things like AI, things like communication, meeting law, all those kind of things that, as you know, have changed over the years. So something to think about, and we'll bring that information to you. Also, a quick announcement. We'll be looking to schedule a workshop soon, probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, regarding our franchise agreements. So we'll want to have a little workshop to discuss where we're at and what's coming up and how we want to manage those going forward. And then on economic development and strategic opportunities, Caroline's World, we want to thank Caroline for obtaining the carbon reduction grant for electric vehicles. We have a total of 3 vehicles in play. 2 of them have been delivered and are on site at the railroad and the IT department. And the third one for PD is still several weeks out because it needs some different requirement for some different upgrades than the other 2. Just for the record, I had the opportunity to drive the Ford Lightning that Matt has out at the railroad, and it was quite an experience. So we're looking forward to some cost savings there, moving back and forth to the junction and all the different trips that the railroad folks need to have to make to maintain the railroad. So interesting opportunity, and we'd like to thank Caroline for helping us get those grant-funded vehicles as part of our fleet. Any questions tonight regarding the manager's report? Yes.
Steve, when you talked about the opportunities, the training opportunities, is that something you would bring here to Prineville? Or is that something that people would have to go to?
Actually, they will come to our site if, I think it would be dependent. They can do it several ways. We can go there. We can do it via Zoom link or electronically, or they can actually come on site. There is a cost. It's very reasonable. So I think once we present that to council and you guys have some time to discuss it, if we have a full council or close to a full council, then certainly they would come here. I think that would be the most effective. So you'll have that opportunity to decide how you want to set that up.
Thank you.
You bet.
Got
Yes, sir.
a question for you about the franchise agreements. Do
Mhm.
not all cities have agreements like that set up, franchise agreements?
I would say yes. Maybe some really small cities wouldn't have any, but Jared, that'd be a bit of question for you. But yeah, most Bend, Redmond, Madras, we all have franchise agreements. Pardon me? Hillsborough, most definitely. Yeah.
It's not 100% throughout the communities,
Yeah.
but for typically speaking, most communities are able to utilize their right-of-way agreements as an asset, and
Yeah.
certainly advisable.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but he's right. There are some smaller cities that I've come across that do not have them.
Just for the record, Jared did say I was right, so I'm up to 1 in a row. So
I have that sparked something, and I received an email from someone saying that Hillsborough doesn't have it, and they're trying to model after Prineville.
oh,
That
really?
We're leading the way for large baseload users, and that we've set the example for the United States in franchise fees because how well we're doing with our large customers. And I'm like, why wouldn't Hillsborough have
They do.
a franchise fee?
Yeah,
I think maybe there's some mixed,
yeah, I would,
but it's a reporter.
yeah,
so
I was, when I served on the League of Oregon Cities board, I became friends with Mayor Denny Doyle, of Hillsborough. And I know, I actually asked him a lot of questions about franchise fees when the data centers first came here. So I know that they have some, but I don't know the extent to what Hillsborough has.
And
Yeah.
they do in other cities generate considerably more than we do. They also have higher franchise fees than we do. Hermiston has a 9%
Mhm.
franchise fee. Redmond and Bend both have 7% franchise fees.
Mhm.
We're at 5.
Mhm.
We'll get into those conversations later.
Yeah.
But
And we have other franchise agreements besides just the power agreements. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, Jerry.
No, that's okay. The other thing that can get confusing is there are certain utilities based upon federal law that you cannot provide a franchise, or you cannot impose a franchise fee on. So that also can get kind of confusing in regards to if you're just going on a broad scale.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got a question, Steve. I just read in tonight's paper where we're talking franchise fees. The governor has formed a committee to look at data center usage in Oregon.
Mhm.
I was very, very disappointed that somebody from Prineville wasn't
Yeah.
a part of that. And I'm very concerned because it seemed like it was pretty well loaded with people that,
College professors.
well, that are on the environmental and climate side of
Right.
the equation. So,
There's actually, let me interrupt you if you don't mind. Yeah, so there's another committee that she has, our Governor Kotek has um, formed regarding economics and business climate. And I was disappointed we didn't have anybody from Central Oregon on that. My understanding that they did have somebody from a major company that backed out the last minute. And then this one you're speaking of, Councilman Smith, is I agree with you. And because of that, I actually have been in conversations with Mayor Beebe. We've also had the opportunity, Casey and I both had opportunity to meet with Scott Aycock, who's now the Regional Solutions Manager for the Governor's Office. So we intend to, so my first meeting with Scott that Casey and I had, we said, how do we see if we can get on the economic development side of her committee, that first committee that she put together, I think clear back in December or maybe in November. And then now that this has transpired and that information came out in the paper, it's been out there for about a week, that she formed this additional committee specific to data centers. The mayor and I and Casey we've already reached out to Scott, and we'll be asking for a meeting to see if we can't get in touch with her economic people and see if we can't participate on both of those. I think it's real important that we have representation. So thanks for bringing that up. But any other questions? Thank you.
All right, council reports. I know there's one for sure, but
anybody else? Okay. I received some, what I'm gonna call very disappointing news from Salem. Some of this come from Doug Riggs. Our legislature, of course, is grappling with the transportation funding issue. And some in the legislature, including 2 committee chairs, have suggested that the way to fix the state's lack of funding is to do away with the city and county share of the gas tax. So it's just a little history on this. Currently, out of the total amount of state gas tax collected, 50% goes to ODOT, 30% goes to the counties, and 20% to the cities. This has been in place since 1919. That's the first time the state put forth a gas tax. For the last 2 to 3 years, Chris Doty, who's the Deschutes County Public Works Director, and Chris is very, very involved in the goings-on in Salem, has been warning us at COAC that this was going to come to play. Well, it is. And I'm very afraid that since the governor's funding plan has been referred to the voters, that this legislature is going to panic and react by implementing this plan, which could be done just administratively. It doesn't have to go to vote. They can do it administratively. Our budget, and Kate, I met with Casey this morning. The city of Prineville receives just shy of $1 million a year. That's where we're at currently. In 2023, ODOT collected, or the state collected, $669 million total. So if this were to go away, they keep talking about a $300 million gap. Based upon the 2023 numbers, that would give them an additional $334 million. So, you know, for those people in Salem that don't care about cities and counties, yeah, it fixed their problem. That would affect 277 local governments, city and county. 83% of Oregon's non-federal road miles are owned and maintained by city and county. So this takes place. ODOT wants to threaten that service isn't going to be like we've become accustomed and all that. By golly, this is going to affect a whole lot more motorists than if ODOT has to go by their budget. Currently, there's 60% of city streets are in poor condition. Counties have an $800 million funding gap, and cities have identified $5 billion in unmet needs. This is not the answer. It never will be the answer, in my opinion. And specifically, all of a sudden. So, LOC has put together, you know, they're on top of it along with Association of Oregon Counties. They put together some talking points. They've asked for local, like for the city here, what would the loss of these funds mean for us? Several different questions. I've asked Casey and Lori to address those and get those back to Doug Briggs. In Casey and I's conversation, you know, he's going to do a little bit more investigating of, you know, what might be the next step, if that's something that the council agrees upon through a resolution or something, and Mayor Beebe sends a letter that we all support or something. But this just blew my mind. It's, you know, once again, other people are having to backfill issues that the state has got themselves into, in my opinion. So I wanted to make the council aware. You know, and like Casey said, that's our capital budget. It's gone.
Yeah.
So. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So what?
I'll answer any questions I can, or Casey will try to, or whatever, but.
So I mean, you brought a problem and it's a big problem, but what are our next steps? What can we do besides, I know the, Oregon League of, no, the League of Oregon Cities is
Yeah,
doing something, LOC,
AOC.
and the counties are doing something, but what do we locally have to do to help support that instead of just letting them take it on?
And that's, Casey's gonna reach out and like I say, other than letting them know personally what effects that'll have on the city of Prineville, but, you know, what our representative Doug Riggs would expect from us. And, you know, we even brought up Jared of, you know, what, in the legal terms, what we can do. We don't know. But I don't think it's right for each council member to send, unless we have a consensus to where we're all saying the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we just do a letter from the council?
We could certainly work to prepare some type of letter that emphasizes the concerns that this body has and present it to council for approval and signature by the mayor. i- i- In theory, a resolution has some more strength to it. However, if you're sending it to particular representatives to read, they're just going to read that letter in essence. So the resolution is somewhat superfluous, although it has some presentation effect to it. So we can certainly start with the letter and see how you guys or how the council likes that. I can work with Casey with it in regards to getting some facts together.
Anything to add, Casey?
Good evening, council. For the record, Casey Kaiser, City of Prineville, Assistant City Manager, Public Works Director. I think, Councilman Smith covered it really well. This is where it's a really nice resource for the city to have our lobbyist, Doug Riggs. I think his first step is he's asked for comments from cities on what the impacts are. So Scott and I spent some time this morning talking about that, and just to give council a really high level overview. So that impact to us, that is somewhere around, just south of $1 million a year in revenue for our streets fund. To put that in context, our total expense budget for our streets fund is about $2.3 million a year or so. So that's, roughly 40% or so of our entire budget. And then, as Councilman Smith mentioned, that is our total capital improvements, meaning all of our capital paving projects, is about $800,000 a year that we spend. So for this funding to go away from the city of Prineville would be the equivalent of losing our entire capital improvements annual budget. And then, as Councilman Smith mentioned, the point that approximately 80% of the roads are under the jurisdictions of cities and counties, and already 50% of this gas tax goes to ODOT. So the idea that the other 50% would go away too would be a pretty significant impact. So I think from staff's perspective, we'll provide the information on the financial impacts and the capital impacts to our capital improvement plan, and that ties into our pavement conditioning. So we'll get that information together and then kind of wait for further opportunities that our lobbyists might mention. And in the meantime, whatever council might decide as far as a letter stating the city's position on this would be very helpful.
So are all cities involved in the COAC and all counties are involved in that? So everybody throughout the state knows about this?
Yeah, they should.
Okay.
Yes,
Should.
of course, our COAC is existent in the Central Oregon region,
Mm-hmm.
but there are COACs in every different spot.
Okay.
And we haven't even had this wasn't mentioned in the last COAC meeting. We have one next month. So this hasn't even been brought to that group yet, but I already know because Chris Doty has been preaching this for, like I say, 2 to 3 years, that this is what the legislature is gonna try to do, and we need to fight.
And they can do this in the short session, right? That's what
Yeah.
they're,
Yes, that's the intent of currently.
What a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, well, I'm sure every city and county, you know, is gonna be in the same fix. I mean, that's, you know,
Yeah.
it's, I know the county, that'd be about their capital expenditure too for the county, and I think, you know, most of them are gonna be the same. So I would think there's gonna be a whole lot of pushback there, whether
You
it's
would
any
think.
good or not.
Yeah.
But they meet, you know, next Tuesday, so you don't know how quick they'll try to run something through.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of cities that are not as well financially positioned as we are. And for them to lose the revenue from the state, in many cases, that's their sole source of revenue for their street maintenance. It
Very
would be a
good.
disaster for many of them.
Very good point, and that was something that I thought of is, you know, if this become a reality, you know, how lucky we are to be in the financial position we are. It's not gonna be fun, it's not gonna be good, but compared to some others,
It could be a lot worse.
it's just wrong, you know, that's taken gas tax that's generated right here in our
In Central Oregon.
Yeah.
city and county,
Mhm.
you know, and not getting any use of it. And reading through some of this material, if you read between the lines, what I'm coming up with is those legislature folks are hinting at the idea of, well, each city and county can go out with their own local gas tax. And put that back on, it's just,
Tax.
No,
so anyways.
it seems like the only solution to balancing the budget is more taxes instead of looking at the rest of it and seeing why you need that much money.
Mhm.
I think a little audit might help, wouldn't it?
Huh?
A little bit of an audit, maybe,
Yeah.
on ODOT's budget, their budget.
I think that's why, you know, that's why people are wanting to have it refer, you know, so that gives them a chance to, that's what the whole thing's about. And of course,
Well,
we're trying to sidestep.
We
it.
know that they've already did a mini audit or a small audit, and that's where they found, you know, what was it? 1 billion or something unaccounted for. So, you know, and like I told Casey, I said, you know, I have a lot of friends at ODOT. I worked with them. I still support them, and they're not the bad person in it. Now, do I feel like ODOT throughout the state spends their money as wisely and gets the most out of their people and stuff like we have and still do here in Prineville? No, not one bit. I've seen it, but I think a lot of the problem, and it's referred to in here, that in the House Bill 2017, when the legislature passed that transportation bill, which generated a substantial sum, they put a rule in there that none of that money could be used for maintenance. They can reverse that. And that would help bridge some of that funding gap that right now the rule says it all has to be used for capital. So, and that's what every city and county has struggles with, is on the maintenance side. Anyways,
Thank you for bringing it to our.
Yeah.
I think we beat a dead horse enough.
Thank you.
Whatever's written between you guys, I'd love to put my signature to it. More than happy.
You'll get the chance to prove it.
Any other committee reports or council reports? Not after that one. Again, thank you, Scott, for that. And I don't know if that whatever document you have could be shared with council and put on record, so we can have copies of it.
Lisa forwarded it to me, I got it to Casey and Lori today, so,
So did it come from Doug? Okay,
so Lisa could send that out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, where are we at?
Ordinance.
Ordinances. I have ordinance number 1305, amending the city's comprehensive plan map and zoning map from industrial to commercial. First presentation, Mr. Josh Smith.
Evening, council. This is the public hearing we had last meeting on the Grocery Bandit wanting to expand their services over onto the lot they already own next door. I have had no comments and no changes to what was presented last time. So this will be the first presentation. We'll have another presentation since it hasn't been advertised for 7 days. The next meeting is when the second presentation will happen, but we have to vote on both times. Any questions from council on what they see in the packet? Should be the same exhibits and zone changes.
If there's no questions for Josh, I'm open to a motion to approve ordinance number 1305.
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1305, amending the city comprehensive plan map and zoning map from the industrial to commercial.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. No resolution, so we're down to visitors, appearances, and requests. Is there anybody in our audience that would like to speak to us? Jason? I think we gave you some good story ideas tonight, right? Okay. Is there anybody on the Zoom call that would like to raise your hand and speak to us? Or just council? None? All right. No one wants to talk to us. I'm open to a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.